Marnos is going to be talking about the Music Theatre West educational outreach for children and youth.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
I decided not to wear a name tag because I thought you'd know who I am. Karen had shared with me a couple of weeks ago that she was wanting someone to come from a Musical Theatre West and talk about education outreach. And our staff person is Dana Leach, and I reached out to her, but she is very busy with all the different, we have 20 different programs that we do with education outreach. And I'm chair of the Education Outreach Committee. I've been on the board of directors, Musical Theatre West, for 25 years. And I am very involved in the education because being an educator, I just think it's a wonderful thing that we do. And I want to kind of tell you how I got involved in the first place. I was a principal at Roosevelt Elementary School, which some of you may know is right across the street from Poly High School. And it has, and it probably still does, the highest poverty level of the elementary schools in Long Beach. And when I went there, there were 1,300 children from K-3, and then I opened up a 4th grade. But I had 67 teachers there with 1,300 children, and we bussed out 30 buses of children. That's how impacted that area was with children. And I went there knowing that the test scores were extremely low, and we were going to try to find ways of raising the test scores. And I felt very passionate about working with children that were at poverty level because I felt that we really made a difference. And during that time, I got acquainted with a person who was in PR, and I don't know how, I think they just had him come to me because our school was known for being so large, and also because of the poverty level and because our test scores were so low and everything. So we were trying to build up community outreach. And this man knew Paul Garman, who is the executive director of Musical Theatre West, and they had just come to Long Beach from La Mirada. And so he contacted me, Paul did, and said, and I didn't know him, but he said, I would like to come to your school, and I'll bring Dale Christian, who is a known singer, and I think she did things on Broadway, but she was now doing things on cruises and so forth, and bring a couple of other singers, and we'll come to your school for the children, for a program. And so the children filed into, we had a multi-purpose room. They had done away with auditoriums during that time, and they had a multi-purpose room. And the kids from K through 3 were full on that, in that room. And she got up and sang songs from The Sound of Music and other songs. And I stood there and watched the children's faces. And frankly, I was blown away. They were enraptured and enchanted to hear this Dale Christian singing, and they would just, I looked at their faces and I was just so happy that they came. And I shared that enthusiasm with Paul Garman. And he said, would you mind coming to the Art Council meeting? We're having an Art Council meeting in Long Beach because we've applied for some grants, and the grants are to support education programs for the kids and so forth. I said, sure, I'll come. So, and share how you felt about what we're doing. So I went and I shared it with the Art Council, and as we were walking out of the meeting, he said to me, would you like to join Musical Theatre West Board of Directors? I'd love for you to join. I said, oh, sure. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I never asked, what the requirements were, what the dues were, or anything. But it was because of the children that I got involved. And I've been involved now for I think I'm around 26th year of being involved with it. But I find that the education outreach piece, besides, I mean, Musical Theatre West is a production. Probably most of you have gone to our productions, and they're outstanding. I think they're Broadway quality, I really do. But the other piece is what we do with the schools and with the children. And we have a committee that's called the Education Outreach Committee, and I'm chair of that. And I've become quite involved in the various things that we do, and I thought I would just share with you some of the things that we're doing. And one of the purposes of education outreach is to reach out to children like the children at Roosevelt, who otherwise would not have any experience knowing about musical theater. And I'm also president of Footlighters, which is a support organization of Musical Theatre West. And our main goal is to raise money for education outreach. And our basic fundraisers are to support the education outreach. And we have, like I said, Dana has been a fabulous staff person, and she has increased, I think we have 20 programs now that children are involved in. And I just thought I would highlight some of them this morning, just so that you would be aware of the different things that we do. One of the things that we do that I think is, and I've attended many of them, is we do student matinees. And we have the kids come, what they do is Dana, in August, September, sends out notices to all the schools in Long Beach and tells them about the 4 productions and when we're going to have a student matinee. And then we've also built such a database that many of the teachers get individual announcements. But we send them to the schools so the principals all get them. And I remember when I was principal at Roosevelt, I started getting it. And then when I became principal of Longfellow, I made sure that my school knew about it and involved in it. So what we do is we pay for the busing to the Carpenter. And the youngsters, they sign up and they get to see part of a show. Like when they saw Into the Woods, it would be Act 1. It really depends. And then we do look through it so that if there's some foul language or something is said, we try to make sure we eliminate those words as part of it. And the cast comes that afternoon, or it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and then they leave by 11:30 and they can have lunch. But we pay, the buses are now $1,000 to pay for a busload of kids. So that's why we're always looking for fundraising opportunities so that we can support the programs. And they base them, the invitations are based on the grade levels where it would be appropriate, like Into the Woods was for elementary. And we ended up having so much interest that instead of having 1 matinee, we had 5. We had 5 matinees. And what our goal is to make sure that the youngsters from North Long Beach, West Long Beach get to go. Fortunately, many of the families that are in this part of town have the opportunity, but we don't deny those schools. I mean, they're there. But we want to make sure that we reach the youngsters that wouldn't otherwise be able to experience it. And Into the Woods was elementary, and the Jersey Boys was high school. So it really depends. But also, not only do we have Long Beach schools go, but we have surrounding areas. But we focus mostly on Long Beach. And then each classroom that is going to go gets a study guide. And so that explains all about the show, and then explains about what was happening at that time in the country, or, depending on what the story, like with the Jersey Boys would be the 1960s and, different things. So in fact, I have a copy of one of the guides that we send out. And but all of these things are ways of involving. Here's the one for Jersey Boys. And it's several pages of things, so the kids get this. Okay, in addition to doing that with the matinees, we also go to schools and we have a couple of plays, musicals, that we go to the schools and do. And the ones that we're doing recently, one is called Saving Pogo's Dog Park. And what this one is for elementary, and it has to do with dogs getting together, and they're gonna make the dog park into a parking lot. And they don't want that to be changed. So they get together and they are successful. They meet with the city councilor. It's really cute. And the actors, and it's singing, it's a musical, it's for kids. And they were dogs in this one. And they are successful and they save the park. And so the kids go to see those shows in the auditorium. And then for the upper grades, we have How Do You Know? And that is one where there's a reunion of junior high, middle school kids after 10 years, and they talk about the impact of science on their lives. So that's for the upper grades. And usually what they'll do is they'll go to the school and spend the day there. And for the assemblies, they'll have the elementary and then the upper K3 and then 4, 5. Go and see the shows. So that's another thing that we do. And we do that, we're gonna do that again in the fall. In addition, we have connected with Community Connects. And we just started this in March. When we had Into the Woods, we had a storybook character reading day on a Saturday, and we invited the community to come. And I was there, and there were all kinds of kids there. It was wonderful, and we had a bouncing house. I mean, we had a lot of stuff there at the site of Musical Theatre West on 7th and Exhibino. But the characters from Into the Woods read in the rehearsal hall. We have the rehearsal hall. They read stories to the kids, and they were dressed up. One was Jack and the Beanstalk, and one was Cinderella, and so forth. And they read books to the kids. This end of the summer, I think it's going to be in August, we are going to do Long Beach Connects again, and it's going to be connected to Pogo and the dog park, and we're going to have animal shelter folks come, and we're gonna do dog adopting. So I can't wait for that to happen. So it's gonna be reaching out to the community again, but involving animal rescue. So that's another piece that we're doing. We have summer camp. And it's for 2 weeks, and the kids learn dancing and singing. And it isn't, the thing that I love about it, and I went to their event when they were showcasing, it's not a competition. Every child feels successful. And as we were walking around and talking to the parents, they loved it because their kids were experiencing things without feeling that they had to get an award for it. Because I see that, my granddaughters are involved in ballet and all these other dances. And some of the companies are so into, you're gonna get a prize, you're gonna get a prize, you're gonna get an award. This isn't that way. It's just that everybody achieves, and then they show it, and they just have such a good time. If that's in the summer, we do that for 2 weeks in the summer. We also have monthly acting classes for the kids. We have the Youth Ambassador Program, which is for high school students, and they meet and collaborate, and they write articles for us when they go see some of the shows. And in May, we had a pizza party for them, and it was so much fun, and there were maybe 20 kids that were part of it. And when we have our events, like the sing-along that we have in January, they're there with their baskets for the raffle. They're involved in the activities that we have. And they're kids that are interested in musical theater, and so we reach them. There's so many different things that we're doing, and we've been so successful that now we have some adult classes for dance and acting because they've become so involved. One of the things that we've also tried to do is involve parents more, because, I mean, we want people to go to the theater to see our shows. So when we have the acting classes for the kids, we'll, those of us that are on the Education Outreach Committee will go there and offer coffee and treats for the parents while they're waiting, while the kids are having the classes. So we're very involved in the youngsters. The other thing that is the real highlight, and I told you I'm president of Footlighters, and we have 4 music in the morning luncheons. And they're really, we have a grand, and we have the actors that are going to be, the singers that are going to be in the shows come and do a little program, and we have lunch, and we have fellowship, and we have raffles and so forth. But the one that we have in June is the scholarship luncheon. And what we do is we start in February, March, we send out invitations to all the high schools in the area. I mean, and we're not talking Long Beach only. We send it down to San Juan Capistrano, North, Palos Verdes, and you name it. And the teachers then recommend kids to try out, to audition. And then the committee, the scholarship committee, goes to the shows that the kids are going to be in. Like, you know, I don't know whether Long Beach Millikan did Grease or whatever different shows they do. The committee goes and observes. And then the students that are interested in applying for scholarships, and they're usually seniors, and we give, I think this year we're giving out, I think it's 18 scholarships. And they're in the area of vocal, dance, and we added tech to it for the kids that are interested in doing, you know, the staging and stuff like that. And on June 21st, we have our scholarship luncheon, and each of the youngsters that win, and this year we had 17, will perform and get a scholarship, and the scholarships are $1,000 each. And that is the highlight of music, of Footlighters program, is that when we do that for, we do that annually for the high school students. So we have a lot of things going on that I feel support the involvement of youth. And I'm a very strong believer, many of you are teachers that are here, I know. I really have always felt that you enhance instruction, you enhance learning through music and art. And I feel that we're doing something that's impacting the lives of kids. And I will say this, that some of the scholarship winners are on Broadway now. We have kids that are on Broadway, young adults that have grown through our programs and are now reaching their goals. So it's an exciting experience to be part of Education Outreach. And I think that I've kind of shared most of the things that we're doing. But like I said, we have a total of 18 different programs that we have, and it depends on the time of year. When we do the summer camp too, it's for 2 weeks, and we love to give scholarships for kids. So I close with what I'm saying by saying, if any of you are interested at all in supporting any of it, we welcome any support that we get through monetary. And also, if you want to get involved with the programs helping out, we have another, besides Footlighters, we have a group that Lieta is part of, Guild. And they are the fabulous worker bees. And they will be, when we have our matinees, they will meet, some of them will meet the buses, they'll be there to help give out the programs. And they're the ones that, if you go to the shows, they're the ones that are giving out the programs during our productions. But they're a wonderful also support to our education outreach. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you. I don't know if any of you have any questions.
I do.
Cynthia.
If you can't get involved for various reasons, but you want to contribute money, how do you make the money for the buses and for the things you need?
What you would do is you would send a check to Musical Theatre West and just indicate on it that this is for education outreach. Yeah, it's, like I said, our main focus for Broadway in the Park, which is our big fundraiser, is education outreach. Footlighters' main purpose is education outreach. So we have to pay for the productions and the actors and all of that. Of course, we need the money for that. But the other piece is, it goes specifically for our education programs.
Marnos?
Yes.
I have a couple of questions. When I was, actually, Roy and I were involved in Broadway in the Park.
I know, that's how I got to know you in the beginning, when I was chair of Broadway in the Park.
She didn't recognize him because at that point he didn't have blue hair. And, but she remembered the name. So I knew that there was an education outreach. And when I went online and I looked at trying to find a program here, I looked at the video that Dana was doing. And it looked like it was just a lot of fun where the kids could come and just jump around and how to pretend, how to laugh, how to act out something. And I'm wondering, is there a charge for children to just show up and do that? Is there a charge for that?
Yeah, see, and that's what we need the monies for, is for the
But do the
acting
kids
classes,
have
for
to
CAM, for all the different activities that we do, because we have to pay people to do the instructing.
But do the kids have to pay?
Yeah, the families, yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So how do they know how much to pay?
Well, there's, when we advertise each of the activities, it will say how much it is.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Because they just seem to have, some kids do like set design. Some are very creative.
Mhm.
And I saw this as a wonderful opportunity for students of all ages
Yeah.
to find an area that
Right.
might grow to be their niche.
Right, yeah.
And get them involved
Yeah.
in theater.
Right.
To see live theater is nothing like watching it on your camera or watching a play,
Right.
on your
Yeah.
iPad or your iPod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what they're gonna do is the schools are, when they're invited to the matinees, they don't pay anything. We pay for the buses, and that's it. There's no charge at all. There's no charge when you go to the community connects thing, when you did the Into the Woods or when they do the animal shelter thing, that there's no charge for that. The youth, the high school kids with that youth culture, there's no charge, because what they're doing is they're gathering together. Where the charge is for camp,
Oh.
for the acting classes, that's where the charge comes in. But, and then of course the staffing, when we have to pay for people to do the teaching. But the general stuff, like I said, these activities that we have at the rehearsal hall, we don't charge for that. We don't charge that. In fact, I have here that I could share with you is the statistics from last year, the involvement of the kids in 2024. We had 18,000 students participate in the programs, 18,000. 9,472 did the education tour where they went to the schools and did the assemblies for the kids, the K3 and the 4-5. We had 150 master class students. That was where they would pay for the master classes. We had 7,558 students go to the live performances at the Carpenter. They opened, new classes for the youngsters, but those are the main participation that went on involving the students. So we're reaching thousands and thousands of kids. So I'm excited about it because I feel that we're making a difference. Yes.
If you could talk more about that annual fundraiser for the education and what.
You mean Broadway in the Park?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Broadway in the Park. I have to tell you, I was chair 6 times, and we used to originally do it at Park Estates, where we would block off a cul-de-sac, and then we would then showcase the 4 different productions that we were going to be doing that year. And we used to love doing it there because a couple of times there were shows where there was water involved, and we would have people that we could use their backyards, their swimming pools and stuff. But it was interesting. I remember one year we used to have a wine wall, and we have the Broadway Park on a Saturday in August, and it was so hot. I was worried that the wine bottles would explode. I mean, it was so people were kind of happy when we ended up now doing it at the Grand. And we do it, I think it's August 17th this year. And we have basically the whole Grand. And what we have is we have the showcases of the 4 productions where the people come, and they're not necessarily the people that are going to be there on the cast, because we do the cast auditions close to when, like right now they're doing it for Buddy Holly. And but we have that showcase. We also have raffles, and we have silent auction items, and then we have live. We have 10 usually live auction items, and then last year we had 233 baskets for the silent auction. But we decided we're going to cut down and not have quite as many this year. But it's fellowship, and then we showcase the kids. Sometimes the kids come in and do a little performance. So it's a fun activity, and we raise a lot of money. We raise over $200,000.
If people, what is the email that they can, if they want to go online and see the schedule of events?
Yeah.
And is there?
The website, just go to musical.org. I think
Just
it's called
musical.org?
Yeah, I think that's musicaltheatre.org. And they have that advertised. But I can tell you, if you want to know anything, I can just come and see me. You know who I am. And I always get, the board members have to get a table of folks for Broadway in the Park, and sometimes I have 2 tables of people. But that's our big event. And then in January, we have our sing-along, Great American Songbook. And we have our lunch and our dinner is on the stage of the Carpenter. And then they have people that, some of the singers sing the different songs from different shows, and we sing along, but I don't sing along. I like to listen to them singing. But those are our 2 main events for fundraising, besides our Footlighters focus is education outreach. And look, I have some of you who are involved would know what our program is for this coming year. It's going to be Man of La Mancha, my favorite. And then in the Heights, which is the one that was written before Hamilton. And then Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And then the last one is Little Women. That should be interesting. So anyway.
Cynthia, did you have a question?
Well, I just wondered if there was brochures or anything that you had that told about these things that you could give to, like, students that were interested in acting, or people that were involved in the committees and everything. Just find it all on the internet under.
Yeah. Look under musical.org.
Yeah, musical.org.
Musical.org should have it, yeah. The other thing that you can do is, and I've done this, like Buddy Holly story. You can Google it, and then it'll show up that Musical Theatre West is doing that, and then that's another way of gaining access to information. So there's a lot going on, a lot of opportunities to enjoy musical theater. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share.